What would our relationship with money be like if we talked about it honestly? Money is a super useful tool, but also super complicated to talk about. The Elephant in the Room is a series on all things money, how it works, how to grow it, how to live without worrying about it, and simple, doable ways to do money right.
Today on the show, we discuss our respective journeys, how we got into the world of finance, our career growth, and how we started Ndovu. Welcome to the Elephant in the Room podcast series. I'm your host, Rogito Nyangeri, chief thinker, co-founder, and chief commercial officer of Ndovu. I am joined this morning by my co-host.
Hi everyone, my name is Radhika Bhachu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ndovu. People like to call me the super striker.
Because you score goals.
I do.
Oh, fantastic. In this particular session, Radhika, we're just going to chat about our career journeys, what got us here to form Ndovu. You know, we've been doing this for 2 years now, but I think this is a session where we open up, I dissect you, dissect me, and we chat about how we got here. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So as a lady, I think I'll toss it to you. Like, I don't know. How did you get into this thing? How did you get into this?
So I think if you're a startup founder, you have to be raging mad.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is a roller coaster. You know, we go through probably, 6-7 emotions a day. There's some super highs, super lows, but we keep plugging through, and that's the main thing. Motivation, grit, resistance, persistence is like the key when it comes to becoming a startup founder. But my journey really started when I was in university. So before going to university, I was, when growing up from a young age, I was surrounded by women who ran businesses.
All right.
Today, where we are today is because my grandma started a business in the 1970s. That would be unheard of, especially for an Indian woman who's just come to Kenya. She set up the business, and that's why my father is still successful and running it himself. So seeing her, first of all, was mind-blowing, especially now looking back, and we now know the struggles of a woman in the 1960s to run a business. And then my mum had her own business. I mean, it wasn't the bread earner, but she was making her own money. She was, running a team. And that was super exciting. And then I went to university thinking, what do I want to do with my life? Being in a Kenyan and Indian as well, parents always force you to do dentistry or medicine. I applied for dentistry, got into one of the best universities.
Okay.
And was like, let me go do some work experience. So I've applied. I've said to the guys, I've done my work experience, but I'm doing a few more in the summer. And they're like, oh, that's really great. Got in. And I went for my first session, and I thought, oh my God, I cannot do this. And at that time, obviously as a kid, you want to please your parents, and you've heard from your family and friends that you have to do dentistry, you do need to do something in medicine. So I remember picking up the phone and crying. My dad's like, what's wrong? Is everything okay? At this time I was in London. And he's like, what's wrong? I said, Dad, I don't want to do dentistry. And he's like, okay, but why are you crying? I said, because you want me to do dentistry. And he said, no, I didn't have that want. Yes, I suggested it, but what do you want to do? I was like, honestly, I have no clue. And at that time, like everybody else, they want you to pick a career when you're at the age of 16 and you have no idea. You're young.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think I'm good at maths. And he's like, that's true, you're very good at maths. He's like, why don't you do maths at university? Great. So I spoke to a few people and said, right, that's what I'm going to do. So I called the university that I really wanted to go in, where I had a place. And I said, please, can you take me for mathematics? And they said, listen, unfortunately, we're full for the year. If there's any dropouts, we'll let you know. But we can definitely enroll you for the next year. So I said, that's fine. I was like, oh no, all my friends are going to university and I'm not. But that was an opportunity, because I then said, okay, so I have about a year off. What can I do with my time? So I decided to do internships. So I emailed a few people, was like, hi, I would love to do an internship. Got onto one of HSBC's summer internship, which was great. Learned loads about it, but definitely knew that's not the department I want to work in.
Which department were you in?
It was retail banking.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like very much being day-to-day, facing customers. And at that stage, when you're a bit young, you don't have the confidence. So you're a little bit like, this is not what I want to do. But it's something in finance.
Okay.
So then went on to university, graduated in mathematics, and was like, okay, this is great. I have a mathematics degree, but like me, I'm a planner in life. I love to plan. So I decided the year before I graduated, started applying for roles. Spoke to a few people, and everyone was applying for audit. Audit is like a huge thing in London. Everyone wants to, it's an easy way to a big four.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing audit. I'd be bored. I was like, no way.
Apologies to all the auditors listening in today. Yeah.
Yes, I you know what, if you actually ask an auditor, I've only probably met 1 out of 10 people who say they love audit. So the reality is it's quite monotonous. And apologies for those who do audit. But yeah, so I got into the graduate scheme for Deloitte as an investment consultant. And keeping in mind, in the back of my head, I was like, I will always run a business. But I knew that I can't start a business if I don't have any knowledge or domain expertise about anything. So I was like, how do I use whatever I'm learning now to really learn and see how I can turn that into a business? So I spent 4 years in Deloitte as an investment consultant, advising people on how to take the money they have today, not people actually, corporations and organizations. So they have large pension schemes. They promise to pay out pensions for their employees when they come to retire. And so I was working on the back end, doing a lot of modeling on Excel spreadsheet. No, not the kind of modeling you're thinking, Ro.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like we have a Naomi Campbell in here.
Yeah, I wish. No, I'm too short, too fat, not going to work. No, I don't have the sharp chisel features. But yeah, so did a lot of asset liability modeling. And very quickly after 4 years, I was in rooms with super senior people, understood that actually my skill set is better suited with people.
Okay.
Then moved over to BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager. And whilst I was there, I don't think I fully appreciated the value that company was giving me. And I guess sometimes they always say, take a step back and then you'll realize what life is actually teaching you. So yeah, so did 4.5, 5 years.
But the company is massive, though. It's like super massive.
It's huge, yeah. So right now it's the largest asset manager. What that means is that they manage over, I think the number is $6 trillion of people's hard-earned money, and they invest it and they make it grow. So the exposure I got there was vast. I was in the room with the most brilliant minds. We had access to large amounts of data, and using that data, really speaking to clients to understand what can we solve, what problem are we solving for you, and how do we bring the skill set and the machine of BlackRock to you.
Okay.
And BlackRock, one thing was super interesting about was everything was done from a risk governance perspective. So whatever decision you make, you say, okay, how can we reduce the risk of making this decision?
Okay. Yeah.
And what does that mean for someone's money? Will it make sure it protects their money? So everything was driven around capital protection. And then 2019 comes around and my husband's like, right, we got to move back to Kenya. I said, wonderful. What am I going to do in Kenya?
Was your husband in BlackRock or where?
No, we met him just through friends. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's Kenyan and I was Kenyan. I never thought I'd marry a Kenyan, but I did, and I'm quite happy actually.
Go Kenya. Yeah.
Go Kenya. But decided to come back to 2019, and again, I always knew I wanted to start a business, and I didn't have a family at that time. So I went around speaking to CEOs of companies, speaking to people in different types of things like skincare. I spoke to a chocolatier. I spoke to somebody who was in fashion. I just really wanted to start something, but I didn't know.
Your oyster, yeah.
The world was my oyster.
Yeah.
And then I had a conversation with one of the CEOs at the largest bank, and I realized because of the exposure I've had, there was such a big gap in the market for retail investors. And then, I'm relatively lazy, so I'm like, I want to start a business, but how do I go about starting a business? I don't know how to start a business. And then I was like, what is the quickest way to learn how to start a business? So I was like, shoot, I went online, I Googled it, and then I realized I don't want to do an MBA, which is 2.5 years. It's also really expensive. So I was like, what's the quickest way? I joined an accelerator program, which taught me everything you would learn in an MBA, but in 6 weeks, and you were actually applying it from day 3. Crash course.
Yeah.
It was intense, but that was the best thing I did because that's where I met my co-founder, Ro.
Yeah.
And then we were like, what do we solve? What do we build? And I had an idea, Ro had an idea. We both had the right skill set. The rest was history.
Wow. That was a journey. You could have been a dentist. I mean...
Boring.
some stuff you could work on right here. I mean, on my side, my journey is, let me say, strange and eventful.
So for all of you who are going to continue listening to this podcast, Ro is really weird, but weird and wonderful. Like he's got the worst.
Nice
yeah, you have like the most interesting stories and journeys and paths that life have taken you on.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You see, with what we're chatting about today, which is how we got into this game, this entire shindig of finance. I think I fell in love with finance when I was a baby. I think I was 8 or 9 years old. There was a series called Capital City. Anyone out there, if you know Capital City, used to run on ITV, please send me a copy. So Capital City was big.
It's
right?
probably a really long time ago, guys.
It was in color. It was not in black and white, guys. It's not Charlie Chaplin days, but it was an amazing series. I saw it as a kid. But what I liked about it, I'm like 9 years old. My late father was a journalist, right? So whenever I used to hang out with them, we will discuss stuff like there's a problem in Lebanon, there's Iran-Iraq war, a lot of stuff was happening. So geopolitics and certain decisions, you know.
Ro, this explains your need for historical information. It makes a lot of sense now. I didn't
There's
realize.
a background to everything.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So chilling there with my dad, I'm like, wow, this is a very interesting series. They're traders, they're doing stuff. But before they execute a trade, they always do analysis. You know, they're like, oh, this president has taken power. Oh, that particular law has been changed. Like, okay, there are all these intricacies before you actually place that trade. So from my young age, I knew I'm going to go this way. I didn't know it was called finance, but I knew I was going to play around with money and do stuff.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So when I was young and somebody had asked me, what do you want to be? And I always saw myself running a company, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I just knew
there's a company.
There's a company. And I don't know what it did, but I was in charge. So weird. So it's amazing. And that was at a very young age as well.
You knew you're going to be a captain, a leader.
Yeah. Interesting.
Super interesting. For me at that age, I didn't think I want to be a leader of anything. I was just like, I just want to do some trades with this money thing.
So your nerd was coming out, your nerdy side.
Let me just do analysis and stuff like that. So I move on. A couple of years later, I got into Strathmore School. Strathmore School is the best school in Kenya.
It is.
Thank you. So there I am in Strath.
Yeah.
Then there was something called an IPO. Right. This is the first time I came across a term called IPO, initial public offer.
Yeah.
And it was for a company called Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways still exists. Why am I saying there was a company? Yeah. The company called Kenya Airways, right? And I understood, like, this company is selling pieces of itself to the people, right? And I went to my dad. My dad used to travel a lot. Yeah. So I knew KQ. I knew Kenya Airways as a company that moves my dad away and brings him back, you know? So I reach out to him like, hey, these guys are doing an IPO. Dad says yes.
And you're like, what is an IPO?
You have this big company, right, that decides to sell pieces of itself, all right? Saying, right now we say we are owned by Radhika. She owns 100% of this company, but we want other people to come in and partake, you know, be part of the journey, own the upside. The upside is the success of the business, you know. You now split up Radhika's 100%. You say, I'm going to create something called shares. When you break ownership of the company, the small pieces are called shares. So KQ then did about, I think, 6 million shares. They created like 6 million shares. Okay. I could be wrong, but I think it was 6 million shares. And they were selling this to the public, telling Kenyans, all you guys use KQ all the time. Become owners. Become owners of this business. So that was the first investment decision I actually made. 1996.
Wow.
Yeah. That was my first investment. I just through my dad.
Well, yeah. So you're like, Dad, here's all my pocket money. I've been doing the chores around the house. Now go invest it in KQ.
Yeah, in this KQ thing.
Wow.
Yes. A long time ago. I don't know.
What are they worth today?
That's a different story. What I can tell you is this. I got into KQ. I think the share price then was about 11 shillings 25 cents.
Wow.
Okay? When it came to market.
That's still quite high for 1966.
1996.
Oh, 1996. Okay.
Yes.
But that's
1966. How old am I, Rats? Come on.
No.
66. I'm not a freedom fighter. Come on. So 96, buy the shares, 11.25.
Okay.
We sold the shares, right? Now, I'm much later, I'm older, I can see what's happening.
Yeah.
We sold shares KQ in 2005.
Well, you're much richer.
450 shillings a pop.
That's long-term investing.
Yes.
Smart.
We held it 10 years. The upside was amazing when we sold it.
Yeah.
Things just changed. So I looked at my dad, he looked at me like, this is an amazing tag team.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I'm in Strathmore this time.
Okay.
Again, great school, so we're working hard. We head to national exams, KCSE, and same thing happens. Much like you encounter on your family side, I had people telling me stuff on my side, you know, like you need to be a doctor.
You're so smart.
You're smart. Become a doctor. You know, and be like, yeah, I'll be a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
Cardiologist, the kind of stuff people always say.
It's the stuff you watched on ER.
Yes, damn George Clooney. Messing up our lives in the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I say, you know what, I'm just gonna apply for this. But in my heart of hearts, it's like, nah, this is not exactly what I want to do. I don't actually want to do this. Your experience where you said you went in and you saw like, I don't want to be a dentist.
No way, yeah.
Mine was a rough experience, okay? So I got into med school, University of Nairobi.
Well done. Congratulations.
Day one, orientation. We're taken to the morgue. There's a morgue right there.
Yeah.
At the uni, Chiromo. So there are all these cadavers around. You're pulling the shit. You're like, that's the guy you're going to work on for the next one. Yeah. Like, I am not going to do this.
No, thank you.
Never.
Thank you, but no, thank you. And we have a lot of respect for medical practitioners. We do need doctors. We have a lot of respect, but you and I are, I guess, weak-hearted when it comes to blood.
Not my thing at all. Not my thing. So that was, I think, that was my first, I can call failure. Okay. Right? In that I did not become a doctor. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Let me just fail.
Yeah.
But fail forward. I still had my passion. Remember, as a kid, there was this thing I could have done. So here I am. I've left. I've said, I'm not going to do medicine. People think that guy is bonkers. He lost it. Wires got loose. But at the same time, I'd actually qualified as a CPA. All right. I had my accounting badges, I think, at 20.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have something back here.
Okay.
So
wow.
My first job was 20 and I was an accountant. That's the first thing I did. In a wealth management firm, as Phil would have it, right?
Yes.
So the boss then takes a punt on me. This is a young kid. He's just qualified as an accountant. Let me give him a gig.
Yeah.
I am the back office, right? Where you're working on models. I used to do the same stuff.
Yeah.
But then clients will walk in and I'll talk to them about their portfolios.
Yeah. Because you knew what you were doing.
I know this stuff.
Yeah.
So the boss is like, hey, this guy's in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Let's move him forward. So I went to the front office, client facing. Here we are today, you know. Still chatting, still talking to clients about finance, you know. I went to uni after that.
Okay.
Of course, my medicine adventure was over. Made some money early days. KQ partly helped in doing stuff.
Definitely.
When we did the sale. Did my undergrad in banking and finance. A couple of years later, there was a global financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah.
Fell in love with Islamic finance. Went back to school for my master's. Came back to Kenya in 2012. But then I felt I need to do something that will have a bigger impact, you know. Instead of going to the run-of-the-mill institutions, let me go to an institution of national importance. So I joined the exchange then. I joined the exchange on the strategy and research side. I was there for a couple of years. In 2014, I was part of the team that developed this wonderful investment product that was mobile-based. But that particular experience then, or with that product, informed me of what I was going to do next. See, all this time, I'm not an entrepreneur. I am not. I'm just that guy delivering stuff.
Yeah.
So the experience with this particular product showed me the need to create something that is super easy for people to use. All right? Make investing so simple and also provide education everyone.
Yeah.
I could not see anyone doing it the way I wanted it to be done. It's like, you know what, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to create this company the way I envision it.
So we're trying to solve a problem for yourself, you'd say?
Yes. Which applies to 50 million other people, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when I just quit work. Again, people are like, this guy's crazy, you know.
I told you to run a startup, you have to be crazy.
So I'm out there thinking, what do I do next? Then the same thing that you did, just Google, find out, how do I find out how to run a business?
Yeah.
You know, I guess we clicked on the same link.
Yeah.
Ended up in the same place. And we hit it off on day one. Yeah. And here we are.
And interestingly enough, so you do this thing where it's called like you meet a lot of people and it's like founder speed dating. And the team that we have actually used to build the product today is the first team we actually speed dated on. And we went and we did a lot of other things, but we still came back to the end team. And it was just like it was fate. We were meant to be.
We met, but you decided to date other people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah?
Sorry about that. You know, I like
Still
to see what's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like building on the fact that actually, bro, when I came back, what So first of all, before I went into the startup journey, wanting to own my own business, I'd already had these thoughts. So whilst I was at corporate, I actually knew I have a salary that is sustainable. It comes in every month. It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
So how do I make sure that when I enter into the journey of trying to figure out what I want to do, I've got money?
Yeah.
And so actually, obviously I worked at an asset manager, so you have a lot of red tape. You can't buy companies individually because it's known as insider trading. The point I'm making here simply is that before I ventured into the journey of startup founder, and I know a lot of us listening to this podcast will probably want to do that, I made sure I got my finances in order, and I went and I started investing at the age of 23 in these funds.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. I still think today it's actually quite late. I wish I started at 20 because I would have been a much richer woman. But, nevertheless, I got started early, 23. And now with that, when you're taking this risk of, giving up a full-time paid job, I know should something go wrong, which it won't because you and I work really hard.
Yeah.
We have something to fall back on as a family. We actually have some money, it's going to sustain me. And that's really the first step I would always recommend. Like if any of you are looking to come into entrepreneurship, save for a little bit, whether it takes 6 months to a year, save that money, invest it, because saving is not enough.
Yeah.
And we'll touch upon that in other episodes. But, the importance is get financially secure in some shape or form. And the entrepreneurship journey has been a whirlwind. So, Ro, tell me, what have been the most favorite moments whilst working at Ndovu versus the most challenging things that you've had to do?
Well, I'll flip it around and start with the challenges, right?
Yeah.
We are a regulated business, So putting everything in order, ticking all the boxes.
So I don't think I could have started this company without Ro. Ro loves regulation, whereas I do love it. I see the importance of it. I think it's great. But actually doing the work, I'd get lost. I'd be like, I can't do this. But Ro, thank God I have you on the team.
It is a ton. I think my neighbors now suspect I'm a vampire or I run a sect because I am always active at night, Super active, 4 a.m.
So I always,
you want to tease me, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I always call Ro my Batman. Because I'll go to bed and I'll say, Ro, we need to work on this, this, and this. And then I just go to bed, having dreams, la la land. I wake up in the morning, it's done. And I'm just like, thank God. So we work anti-clockwise. And then in the morning, he'll say, you need to do this, this, this. And then I work it through the day. And then by nighttime, we're good to go.
Yes, 24/7 business.
Exactly.
We never shut.
We don't.
Yeah, we're always there. So just putting everything together, all the regs. And I mean, we are in Kenya now. We're expanding as well. So understanding all this, I was in Tanzania recently as part of our expansion, and I had a meeting with some folks there. I'm not brilliant in Swahili, I am not. You don't give me that look. I'm not. My Swahili is terrible.
No.
It's terrible.
Well, you don't want to hear mine then.
So there I am, Tanzania, I'm chatting guys.
Yeah.
They want to hold a meeting in Swahili.
Wow.
So I'm trying to translate everything I know, financial services in English, into Swahili.
I was going to say, what's this? So share is hisa.
Yeah, that one yes.
Bond is?
Where? So I'm going in there talking about madhumuni, our intent. It was super difficult. I'm just addressing an issue about the difficult side of doing this, doing it in a different language.
Wow.
The positives, I'm doing what I love, I'll bleed, sweat, and cry what I'm actually doing right now.
Yeah.
There's a term I could use, but will be censored, so I can't use that one right now.
Yeah.
Certain stuff happens when you're running the business on a regular basis, but it's part of the journey, And I also like that it's actually given me some time to pursue my hobbies.
Yeah.
Right. I love horse riding. I'm trying to be a polo player.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Much as we say that startups take all your time, you're drowning in it. What that's done for me is enabled me to have time for my family.
Yeah.
I bond more with my mother.
Yeah.
More with my siblings.
Yeah.
Right. I appreciate that one more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now if I flip it back to you.
Yeah.
What has been difficult? What's so interesting?
So I'll start with interesting.
Yeah.
So when I moved back and I was having these conversations and I was asking, my friends, how do you guys invest? And they're like, no, we don't invest. We have our money in a bank account and that's it. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you know how bad that is? And they're like, no, explain it. And I was like, so you go to work, you work super hard for your money. Every month you get a paycheck.
Yep.
And then you go and put that paycheck in the bank thinking that you're earning money on top of it. But the reality is that there is this thing called inflation. And inflation simply means that the 1,000 bob I have today will buy me 5 Diet Cokes today, but tomorrow it's going to buy you 4 Diet Cokes. And the money that you're earning in the bank account is giving you maybe 2 to 3 to 4% max.
Before tax.
Before tax.
Okay.
Yeah, good one, before tax.
Yeah.
And inflation on average in African countries has been 5%. And actually recently the Kenya data team announced that it's 7%.
7 now, yes.
So can you believe that that same 1,000 shillings has now become 993 shillings because of inflation, and you're not doing anything with it? And I was like, so tell me, why aren't you investing? Like, you are smart, educated individuals.
Right.
What is it?
Yeah.
And said, to be honest, the current process is really complicated. I was like, explain it to me. They're like, I have to go to the fund manager. I have to open an account via paper. I have to speak to someone. I need to understand everything. And it's really complex.
Yeah.
So
Attach photos in triplicate.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then it's like, then the challenge is I don't even know where to start. Like at school, not just in Kenya, but around the world, financial literacy, they teach you how to dissect a frog and stuff like that.
Grasshopper.
Exactly. And then you graduate and you're like, I don't know how to budget. I don't know how to save.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write a will. I don't know how to write anything.
The real skills and knowledge you need for the real world.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, so I don't know where to get started. I was like, okay, interesting. And they said, lastly, the options available aren't very exciting to me. I said, tell me more. They're like, so in Kenya today, if I was an everyday investor and I wanted to invest 5,000 shillings, I can only do it in the local market. I can't invest in Microsoft, and I use a Microsoft
the tech
laptop.
sector that you love. Yes.
Exactly. You can tell I'm a tech lover. So I was like, okay, that's super interesting. So the fact that I could work and team up with you, get regulated, build the entire tech platform in-house, to obviously the users it feels like an app, right? It's super easy, but in the back end it's like a big machine that you're building that needs to have leverage, procedures from BlackRock, things that I'd seen that worked really well. How do we keep our customers' money safe at all times?
Correct, yeah.
Being able to see my friends, the same set of 6 people that we were having banter with, I said to them, okay, can you now start investing? And they love it. They're like been the first adopters, and seeing that come to life has been probably one of the most rewarding things because I know I'm changing lives. And the reason I say I'm changing lives is because I just had a baby boy, and I wish my parents did this for me. I put away, obviously, babies are born first, people give you money and they give you presents. I said to everyone, don't buy any clothes, don't buy anything, just give me money. And it doesn't have to be a lot, even if it's...
Just give me money.
No, because, and I explained to them, I said, because I'm going to invest it in a global index, because he's 0, right? Technically, he's at the age of 0. So I think it was about like a good number. I've invested it. When he turns 18, he's going to be a millionaire. And I've done nothing. And I'm not putting any more money in. Of course, I will top up every time it's his birthday, somebody gives him money. I'm not buying him toys. Honestly, in the house, we have lots of toys, and the kids go and play with the plastic dabba. Dabba in Punjabi is a plastic bowl.
I think
with
guys
a
here
spoon.
know dabbas.
You guys know dabbas? Maybe it's a Swahili word. Indian language.
When I was a kid, I used to have a dabba.
Dabba.
My supplies.
Your supplies, your lunch, your break.
Yeah.
Break was very important. And literally, there's all these toys, and they just play with those 2 things. So my point being is less is more when it comes to spending. Unless it's going to dramatically change your life, do you really need it? Instead, why don't you invest the money? Because in the future, I wish my dad did this for me, and I would be able to set my business on my own and not really worry about the bills and the things I have to pay, because I would have some money kept away. So, being able to give every single parent that opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to put away 5,000 shillings today. The idea is get started, build a future, let it grow. There'll be ups and downs, and sometimes your money will come down, go up. But the idea is that with the stock market, where you do an IPO, like where companies come and sell pieces of their company. The idea is if you hold it long term, it continues to grow, because the way we see the stock market is human progress. If people are going to continue buying, innovating, selling, you'll continuously see a growth in companies. And so just put your money in one fund and for your child and forget about it. So I think being able to bring that to real life individuals, and also seeing customer testimonials.
All right, yes.
So so we also have friends who've set up a company called Tulix. It's a remittance company.
Shout out Tulix.
Yeah, really great, smart individuals as well. And their marketing lady I don't know if I can mention a name, so I won't. But the marketing lady
There's
was...
a lady, yes.
Yeah, there's a lady, a very, very lady. She was like, Radhika, you're the founder of Ndovu. I said, yeah. And she was like, I love the product. I said, tell me more. And, you know, just the excitement in her voice, she said, what you guys do is you make it easy for somebody who doesn't know about finance and doesn't want to learn too much about finance, invest. So you have this goal-based approach whereby you say to you take me through questions, and then at the end of the questions you say, okay, based on your lifestyle, you're a balanced investor, aggressive investor, conservative investor.
So a conservative guy does not want to take risk, right? You want to invest your money, but you want to safeguard what you call capital. Capital is the actual initial amount that you invested. So folks like this will put money, say, into a fixed income fund or a high yield savings account, for example, right? That's the most risk averse, we can call it that type of individual.
And what it means being conservative is that your money that you put in first is protected.
Correct. Yes.
And you'll earn money on top of
That's
that money.
that capital.
So it's protected at all times.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's an extreme to it. The individual wants to put in cash and say, whether it goes up 100% or goes down negative 20, I'm fine with it. I want to bear risk because I think there's a trade-off, right? Greater risk, greater return.
Yeah.
So this is an individual we call the adventurous investor. He's out there. He's able to stomach. You clearly are an adventurous investor, right? I think I am as well.
But anyways, going back to the lady's story.
Yes.
So she was like, I love the fact that once you've done the profiling, you tell me, based on your current situation, don't take too much risk, be a balanced investor. And at the end of it, if I invested 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings, I will likely achieve, say, 12%, for example. And then I just give you my money and I walk away. It gives me time to focus on my career, my family and friends, without me having to go out and be like,
what is that share doing?
And like stressing about it. So she said, for me, it makes me feel good because as a Kenyan, I know I should be investing and I'm doing it, but I'm not doing the hard work. She's like, there's another cultural thing where people make you feel, and your parents, that you should be doing more with investment. It's like, now I'm doing it, but I don't have to do all the hard work. And she's like, so hearing those types of testimonials make my day. And of course there's challenges. It's a business. Ro and I fighting day and night to keep it not alive. Look, we're doing really well, but we have internal targets that we're constantly fighting towards. But actually that's what keeps you and I alive, you'd say, because we love working towards really high targets. I also do they say diamonds are built under pressure.
Correct.
Honestly, I love being under pressure. I feel like if I'm not growing and changing and I'm staying still, I'm comfortable, I just feel like I'm not achieving in life. And, you know, that's one thing that's super interesting about human nature. The moment you feel comfortable in a job, just remember you're doing yourself a disfavor. The minute you feel uncomfortable, you're doing things. In fact, recently with a employee of ours, Mia, we noticed her skill set and she was like, oh, I don't know anything about partnerships. I said, but you have all the skill sets.
Yes.
Let's bring you on board let's do partnerships. And that will help her grow. And her being uncomfortable means she's growing. So that's a challenge. I mean, we have to keep growing. We have to make sure, you know, we're providing the right type of product to our end users. It's a challenge that I love, though. So
how is it handling Ndovu, right? And it's all unique set of items and characteristics, and raising the young tyke. How is it?
So can I be honest with you? I have always been career driven, but it's one of the most wonderful things I've ever experienced. I just love the fact that there's a little human that looks a bit like me. So you've met him. He obviously looks like his dad. So I actually spoke to a woman who's super successful, but also has a beautiful family.
Right.
And I just called her and I said, listen, so I'm going into motherhood and entrepreneurship, and you know how busy it is. What advice can you give me? And she said to me, listen, the one thing I can give you is that learn to be imbalanced, meaning there'll be times where you give your work everything and you feel like you're not being a good mom and, you know, you're not giving them enough attention. That's completely normal.
Okay.
But then there'll be days, for example, today, Ro, I came late because I had to take Avir, he's my son, to the hospital because he's just got the cold. Nothing's too serious, but I was late. And so this morning I spent, which I would have been productive and done other things, actually with him, making sure he's okay. And so this is constant imbalance, which I'm now getting comfortable with. But initially, so it's only been 5 months. Initially, I was feeling overwhelmed, but just making sure, like, okay, what are the 5 things breaking it down essentially. When you
Yeah.
feel overwhelmed, you make your list and say, okay, what's a game changer and what's not a game changer?
Exactly,
Actually,
yes.
this can weigh. The rest is super important. Right, let's focus on that. And that's sort of how I deal with being overwhelmed as well. And I think it's a really good way to look at your stuff. Because can I be honest, some of it is just noise. It's not moving the dial
That is
to where
true.
you want to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a wonderful journey. And I think, I'm not one of those... To actually second that, my husband has been such a supportive figure. It's also partly selfish from his side because
Yeah.
he knows if I sat at home, I'd be like, "Oh, so what are we doing
You
today?"
nag him.
So where are we going out? I saw this incredible place.
Yeah.
I think we should go experience life. Let's go to
In Lesotho.
Yeah. Let's do it. So in a way, no, but him being there
Yeah.
and being supportive has been probably one of the reasons why I can do this.
I've not settled down yet.
Yes, I was
still-
going to ask Ro, what about you?
no.
Tell us more.
There are candidates.
Yes.
We're doing an examination.
We're doing the analysis.
Analysis is still ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah. So which one is going to age and still be funny?
On my side, all this work that we're doing, you mentioned stuff around prioritization. You know what's going to move the dial, what is noise.
Yeah.
We do all that. I prioritize so much. I think I know what I'm going to do on like November 19th.
No, Ro, I've seen your calendar. You don't have to tell me. I've seen your calendar and I just think, what? I thought I was bad.
I've realized time is the most precious commodity that one has. Yeah.
Honestly, it really
You need to
is.
manage it like really well.
Yeah. So, Ro, tell me, you've been mad enough to embark on this journey of startup founder. What advice would you give anyone looking to start their own business? And few nuggets, just a few takeaway, actionable insights.
You need to be passionate about what you're doing, right? It's not just something,
aye.
it's a Monday morning idea, quick buck, let me just do this, and by Friday I'll be out of it. Passion will take you a long way
Yeah.
in building a business. Number 2, you need a team.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
You cannot run a business by yourself, right?
Yeah.
You can't. You'll suffer burnout, of course. People don't have all the skill sets.
Exactly.
So you need a team. You definitely need a team. And on top of that is people that you trust.
Yes.
You know that this individual who's great in their own domain, they will deliver, right? You need to have deep, insane tenacity.
Yeah.
Because, as you know very well, you wake up in the morning, they're curveballs. Always.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Damn right.
There's something. Because if you flick when there's a challenge, entrepreneurship and building a startup is really not for you.
Yeah.
You know, you'd rather join a startup, lend your skills to a particular startup,
And learn about it.
and learn about it. Yes, this
Agreed.
might prep you for something that you need to
Yeah.
do and in future.
So I agree
Yeah.
with you all in all. Only one thing to add.
Yeah.
If you're working on something on your own, it's worth something, but you'll probably burn out, so it'll be worth 0. You're better off having 20% of something that's great versus 0%
100% of nothing.
nothing, yeah.
But I'm curious. When I was making my own transition from corporate and getting into entrepreneurship, there's a book I read.
Mm-hmm.
It had like 32 pages. Like a really tiny book.
I think I read it. You forced me to read it.
Who moved my cheese?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, so I've actually read
I'm the
it.
greatest advocate.
I
of this
read it
particular book.
after my niece had drawn all over it. She's like, "You've never read it?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Can you give me that book?" Then I sat down and read it.
I think that is one of the most impactful, most beautiful books ever written.
I agree.
Right? It's really tiny. All right.
Honestly, you can read it in like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Speed
yeah.
read, yeah.
So is there anything like in your personal side that you draw inspiration from?
In short, we'll summarize the book. The people who succeed are the ones who fail forwards. That's it. No one has any answers. It's just persistence and making sure not to stay put in one place. So as a startup founder, and if you think you're like this, is you're never satisfied with what you have today. You're constantly looking to better yourself in any aspect, personal, work, sports, whatever it might be. And the thing that really stuck out, and I've always been this way, it's like, okay, I've conquered this and I feel like I'm in a good place with this. What else can I do next? Like, how can I learn more? How can I be better? And that's really translated in the startup. So we come across things that won't work from time to time. I would recommend reading the book, Who Moved My Cheese? It was written in quite a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a really...
Like Dr. someone, Johnson or someone, yeah.
Really like written back in the day, but it's so accurate on human behaviors.
Yeah.
So if you're the person who like wants to consistently look for the next thing, you could be a startup entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, talking about startup entrepreneurship and building a business, Ndovu's design came from our own experiences.
Yes.
I mean, what you had from BlackRock, what I had locally from the exchange, and we knew we were solving needs not only for ourselves but needs that help the wider public.
Yeah.
You know? What would you say is the unique selling proposition here from our product?
So for me, it's personally the fact that you can leave investing to the experts. You come on board and we say to you, invest, and this is how much you can earn over time if you're disciplined with your savings.
Yeah.
Like we take the stress and the reality is Kenyans are getting busier by the minute. We're connected to our phones all the time. We're constantly working. Do you really have time to now go and research about finances? You don't have to. You can choose an easier way, give us your money, and we'll manage it for you. And it's done at a competitive price. I'd like to say we're most competitive in the market. And that's that's one USP. Like you don't need to learn anything. But in the same breath, if you felt like you wanted to get more involved, we give you access to global markets, but we do it in a responsible way. So the ethos of Ndovu was like, yes, we want to make you money, but actually keeping your money secure at all times is one of the key things the company's built on. And it comes from the fact that Ro and I actually have finance experience and we've seen things go wrong. And the idea is that we're not going to give you access to buying different companies individually because you as a retail investor don't have the skill set, you don't have the time, and there's no additional information that you know that isn't available on the internet. So how do you even Ro and myself, how do we make the right call that, a Tesla is going to be around for 5 to 15 years? And the idea is that we want to make sure Kenyans are growing their wealth responsibly. And it's not saying you're not going to make returns because these funds do really well. They do double-digit returns depending on the sector that you're in. But let's do it in a way where you're holding a basket of companies rather than one individual name, so that if you ever needed to draw upon the money before you needed it, you're not seeing that significant up or the significant down. And so for me, that's like the two things USP. We're guiding you on how to invest responsibly, but you're still making good returns.
Holding your hand, yeah.
And or if you feel you're too busy, you can't do it, you just give us your money, we hold your hand, we do it for you, leave it to the expert. And
Ndovu makes you work your money.
Yeah.
Yes. Ndovu solution is available on Android, available on iOS, as well as a web app. So multiple channels for you to actually access our solution. So no excuses. You can say that I did not find this or there. As long as we have the internet, you'll be able to access Ndovu.
Yeah.
We are licensed by the Capital Markets Authority in Kenya right now. We are expanding into 12 other African countries. So people, whether you're in Dakar or Maputo, will soon be coming to you via the internet. Yeah.
Indeed. And you can get started as little as
5,000 baht.
Exactly. So you don't need to have lots amount of money to start. You just start. Awesome.
Ndovu, work your money. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to enjoy your company over the next 11 episodes as we tackle the elephant in the room. That is money.
You could also visit www.ndovu CEO and watch your money work for you. You work hard for money, now let your money work hard for you.